Welcome to the Porsche Heat, a one-off special event on the WorldSimSeries platform. We head over to Spain, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, 4.6 kilometers long, a track which has long straights and variety of corners. It is the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia, and seen as an all-rounder circuit, which also greets the Formula One on its calendar during the winter times. It has a lot of live sessions going on. A lot of teams go there to test their vehicles before the season starts, and we are here on the virtual part of this track with a multi-class race, which is just a one single event. We are currently live with the qualifying session, which has 1 minute on the clock remaining. Currently in the 992 Porsche Cup class, Taurus Tunila is leading against Tomala and Karetskas. Karetskas has just been overtaken by Statin, and the GT4 class currently sees the domination of Jan Nemts, who is being catched by Edwin Žadeikis, who has joined this one-off special event on the WorldSimSeries platform, and well, basically everyone is on their final lap times in the Cup class. Taurus Tunil has just set the fastest second sector and is about to cross the line. I think he did not go faster as his previous fastest lap time. Tomala has shown some pretty nice pace in the first sector, but it looks like the second sector has not been completed that well. Still has a couple of corners to go. This is the new layout of the Barcelona racetrack, which is used by a lot of series in the real world. And oh, big slide out of the final corner. That's not gonna help Tomala to go faster, and I think he didn't even improve his own lap time. Statin is still on the racetrack in the Cup class. Jan Nimt is already back in the pit lane, and you can see on the left side of your screens that well, we can closely follow the lap times of the drivers, especially the sectors where they do their personal bests or even the overall best sectors on the racetrack. The Cup class will dominate this evening. It's gonna be a 1 hour race, and the drivers will have to shear the track. The Porsche GT4s are roughly 5, maybe a little bit more like 7 seconds slower than the Cup cars, so there's definitely gonna be some dealing with the traffic. And as we see the checkered flag, I think we can go over to the results screen and try and take a look at the results as they are now. It's almost finished. Still a couple of cars are on the track. And let's take a look at the GT4 class. Jan Nimts took the pole position. Edwin Žadeikis will start second. Victor third, Rahmanian fourth, Franke fifth, Novoa sixth, Abdelhari seventh, Oscar eighth, Cortez ninth, Butvila 10th, Grajis 11th, Lapo 12th, Gavars 13th, and Cook will start the race from P14. Let's take a look at the Cup class. Taurus Tunila taking the pole position from Tomala, Statin, Karetskas, Mendelis, O'Brien 6th, Vega 7th, Makaya 8th, Penroy 9th, Majerhofer 10th, Kletzer 11th, and Frutos will start the race from P12 in the Cup class, in the race that's gonna see the race start quite shortly, as we prepare ourselves to start the race and line up on the grid. It's gonna be a 1 hour race, a multi-class race with a taste of endurance racing. Well, the taste of the endurance racing is coming from the mandatory pit stops. and the pit lane will be open 1 minute into the race and will be closed 1 minute before the time runs out. So a little bit of strategy mind game for the drivers. You can choose to pit in the middle of the race, you can choose to pit a little bit earlier, or you can choose to pit just right by the end of the race. Most of the drivers definitely have the strategy in mind as we hear the drivers accelerate, and the race start will gonna be announced pretty soon. And off the line we go. Toros Tonila on the right side of your screens, Tomala on the left side. It looks like Toros Tonila just had a very great start. And we head over into turn 1. Tonila leading the pack. Statin is still third. He actually fell down to P4 because Grantas Kareckas took P3, and there's a nice battle for the lead. Toros Tonila trying to hold on. We have 3 Dream to Drive cars. By the way, this new 992 Porsche Cup car has been developed by a lot of data from the Dream to Drive team, which currently has at least 2 of these Porsche 992 Cup cars and are traveling through Europe in a couple of championships. Edvinas Žadeikis goes sideways. Nimts, Žadeikis and Viktors, they remain in their own positions from the race start. As Frutos has jumped a couple of places. I think he didn't have a very great start, and he's just trying to pick up the lost places. Toros Tonila, though, in a comfortable lead, being chased down by Grantas Kareckas. Let's ride on board with the current driver. Grantas Kareckas has just joined the series. Didn't have a lot of time in the practice session. We see a wall being present in this version of the racetrack because there were a little bit of issues in the qualifying session with the track limits. So the organizers have decided for a very last minute change, and they have built that wall to respect track limits as Tomala and Toros Tonila go side by side through turns 1, 2 and 3. Toros Tonila manages to stay in front of Tomala, though both of the drivers had a little bit of a contact, and there comes Grantas Kareckas into the inside. Tomala has a very big impact with the teammate of Toros Tonila, and Nova has received a drive-through penalty from race directors. Tomala has been losing positions. It looks like it is a battle of teammates as Matas Mendelis goes straight into the inside of the corner. Tries to go around Statin as drama continues to evolve. Nice big battles between the drivers. 5 drivers, 2 teams occupying top 5 places, but don't be fooled about that. O'Brien and Vega, they are also right on the tails of these drivers battling for positions. And look at the front. Matas Mendelis goes a little bit sideways as he tries to stay in the mix ahead with the drivers. Tomala back into P2. Grantas Kareckas being surrounded by the 2 teammates, that's Muffler Shop Racing team drivers, as the paint of the cars reveals. Kareckas stays P3. Grantas is doing a very decent job trying to kind of help the situation for his teammate. O'Brien sets the fastest lap time in the Cup class. Edvinas Žadeikis is currently 2 seconds behind. Jan Nimts trying to build a gap between himself and Victor. As we greet the GT4 class, it looks a little bit calmer here than it is in the Cup class. Kind of equal gaps currently between the drivers, as we see Kletzer going straight into the pit lane for a very recent and early stop. But as mentioned before, the pit lane opens 1 minute into the race, and we are already 4.5 minutes racing. 2 laps completed, currently on the 3rd lap in the Cup class, and you can already see that the leaders are gaining on a lapped car. One of the drivers who didn't have a very great start for this race, so there's gonna be a little bit of traffic in a very short time, as we see Grantas Kareckas currently being 1 second behind Tomala. Tomala is very eager to gain on Tauras Tunila. Tauras dominated basically all the sessions before. He was the fastest in the pre-qualifying session. He was the fastest in the qualifying session. He's currently holding on to the lead of this race. This is a 1 hour's race with 1 mandatory pit stop and a fixed setup setting, so everyone has equal chance to be as fast as the current driver. Tauras Tunila setting the fastest lap time of the race so far, 1 minute 42.7. Jan Nimts being 1 second faster on the previous lap time and already 7 seconds ahead of Edvinas Žadeikis, if the time is right, but it looks like the time tower is playing some small games, and it's changing from time to time. Matas Mendelis in big trouble. Statin is on the outside. Well, actually, Matas Mendelis is not in big trouble. He's just in a fight with Statin, as we lose some of our cameras. Let's try and fix that, as we face some small issues. And we are hopefully back. Yep, went black screen, and good thing we could fix that. Kletzer, he just completed his drive-through penalty, so not a very good race for the driver. As Tomala is still within 1 second of Tauras Tunila. Let's get back into the battle between Matas Mendelis, Lee O'Brien and Statin, as we were observing the battle quite closely, and again, small issues, trying to fix them. Back with the view. Oh, Statin with a huge snap, tries to hold on as Lee O'Brien tries to chase him down quite closely. Still, that wasn't a big snap, as Novoa has been disqualified for not taking the drive-through penalty. Yep, and his race is already over, as Statin tries to hold on to P5. We head over to a GT4 class battle. That's Victor and Edvinas Žadeikis fighting for P2 in the GT4 class. Finally, we can enjoy some of the onboard views. Sitting on the laps of Victor, this is number 11 GT4 trying to chase down Edvinas Žadeikis. Edvinas, he has came to the idea to drive in this race at the very last minute, had only a couple of practice session minutes before he joined the race, and it looks like that is not helping Edvinas Žadeikis to be competitive or be on the same pace as Jan Nimts is, but he's currently doing a really decent job trying to defend that P2, which he gained or earned in the qualifying session, as Tauras Tunila sets yet another fastest lap time of the race, 1 minute 42.4 in the Cup class. Victor right on the tail of that gray and dark yellow car being driven by one of the fastest Lithuanian drivers who could only join the GT4 class, as he does not participate too much on the WorldSimSeries platform and does not hold the needed license, and now has to go defensive as Victor is kind of trying to have a look. It seemed that Victor did have a very good exit, and both of the drivers go a little bit too deep into turn 1. Both drivers have to lift and compromise the line, but it looks like Victor is still doing a slightly better job than Edvinas Žadeikis, but he doesn't seem to be that eagerly willing to gain that spot from that Lithuanian. Maybe he's just thinking about the whole race and not willing to get involved into those battles, as this will make both the drivers lose a little bit of time. There's 49, well, basically 50 minutes on the clock, so plenty of time, and I'm pretty sure Victor's he's just hoping that Edvinas Žadeikis will shortly get into the rhythm to try and build out that gap against other drivers, to have a real nice little battle, as we hear some of the drivers putting in fastest lap times. Still the fastest lap time is being shown belonging to Tauras Tunila, the driver of car number 15. And he's currently in the lead, as Matas Mendelis is getting closer and closer to his teammate, Grantas Kareckas, 143.0 versus 142.7. The previous laps of both of the drivers. Tomala 143.9, so the previous lap was not a very solid lap from all the current top 4 drivers, except for Tauras Tunila, so he's already enjoying a slightly bigger gap between himself and Tomala, and is just fully concentrating on what's in front of him, thinking about the strategy. All the drivers will have to go to the pit lane for at least a splash and dash. That's what the rules require. One mandatory pit stop where the drivers can choose to change the tires and add some fuel that brings some game into the strategy. You can start with a slightly lighter car and abuse the tires a little bit more if you plan to change those during the pit stop, but also you have the ability to start with a very heavy car, go a little bit more conservative, but save a lot of time during the pit stop. Just add at least 1 liter of fuel into your race car fuel tank and go back on the racetrack. So that's another strategy possibility for the drivers, as Matas Mendelis is looking for the inside of the corner, as he has caught up with Grantas Kareckas and a lapped GT4 car. They have to deal with the traffic. Matas Mendelis looks like at this stage of the race he feels a little bit more comfortable behind the wheel of his Porsche Cup car, having a small look, maybe trying to play some games with the very young driver ahead. Grantas Kareckas has become a part of the Dream to Drive team by winning the championship, and this was a very nice switch from both of the teammates. Nice and very thoughtful thing by Grantas Kareckas. He sees that Matas Mendelis is on a slightly better run, so why not let him through and let your teammate try to chase down Tomala, as Tauras Tunila is still holding strongly to the lead of the Cup race. But this is just half of the job done. We still have the strategy for all of the drivers, and that means that the balance might change one more time, as we will see all the mandatory pit stops completed. Trying to figure out if we will have that information on our screens to try and follow up with the drivers, whether they have done that pit stop or it is yet to come. Currently I don't see any information on our new timetable on the left side of our screens about the completed pit stops, only the pit stop Only some information about the pit stop being currently made. So we will have to kind of rely on the results sheet on the WorldSimSeries platform. And if you want to follow up a little bit closer on what's happening on the racetrack, wait no more, head over to the WorldSimSeries.com website, log in, find the Porsche Heat event, and all the live timing is present there. Lapo of the racetrack, I have just seen a very close battle, I think, between Yuri Lapo and Egidius Gragis, and now Lapo is off the racetrack. Gragis is still on it, and you can see that Gragis, Cook, Butvela, and Kletter, well, Kletter is the 992 driver, all of them gained one spot. Lapo is was stuck in the gravel. Gragis continues his performance on the track in the GT4 class, currently P6. And the battle between Victor and Radeikis, still hot, still kind of looking like Victor is just waiting for the best moment that he can think of. And let's ride on board again for a couple of corners with Victor, who is trying to chase down Edwin Radeikis. Both of the drivers are falling behind Jan Nimtz, who is being very fast. He was 1 second faster on the previous lap time, but both of the drivers are slightly faster than Franke and Rahmanian, so they are losing a little bit to the leader, but at the same time they are building up themselves a small gap to have a nice battle if they need that. Well, it just looks like that from Victor. He's all over the back of Edwin Radeikis, but sometimes you can hear him kind of lifting the throttle, just not trying to put the car go through the corners side by side, but it's enough for some good pressure for the driver in front to force him into small mistakes. That's not helping both of the drivers with the overall pace. But also, when not putting two cars side by side through a course of couple of corners, you also can stay on a very nice pace on the track overall. And let's go back into the Cup class. Grantas Kareckas suddenly falling way down behind Matas Mendelis. 2 seconds now separating Mendelis and Kareckas, the two teammates. Kareckas did have a 7/10 slower lap time the last time they crossed the line, and Matas Mendelis is kind of on a mission. He was almost 3/10 faster than Tomala on the previous lap time, and this is a still very nice battle between the top three drivers. If that would be a short sprint race, you wouldn't think too much about what can happen during the remaining 42 minutes, but as the drivers will have to go into the pit lane for one mandatory stop, there might be some changes on the track for the positions. Let's take a quick look at how our race control is doing at this moment. We have a couple of drive-throughs already for some accidents, not in the race, but already during the qualifying session. It was Novoa who had a collision with O'Brien, and Novoa was handed that penalty. And another accident happened between Victor and Major Hofer. And Major Hofer... No, actually, Victor received a drive-through penalty for brake checking. I have to figure this out because Victor currently runs third in the GT4 class. I didn't see him do that drive-through penalty or serve the drive-through penalty. So we have to figure out what's with that penalty on the penalty sheets as we continue to look at Tomala's performance. He's trying to chase down Tunila, and he's being chased down by Mendelis, and all the cars are separated by 2 seconds as Tauras Tunila sets the fastest lap time so far, and he was almost 1 second faster than Tomola, and Mendelis Karetskas finally being slightly faster than his teammate ahead. So there's still some variation in performance for the drivers. Maybe all of them are pushing very, very hard and not avoiding those mistakes. That's why we don't see those lap times being very stable, as you can understand the drivers being on the very limit of their driving, on the very limit of the tire. They sometimes can face some mistakes on the track. This is the battle between Victor and Žadeikis, and it has been going on from the race start, and we are already 1/3 of the whole race distance, and it looks like this battle is not gonna go anywhere. So that's a little bit easier for Victor, and I think it's a very interesting race for Edvinas Žadeikis. He has the need to constantly check his rear view mirrors, just to be sure about the moves of the driver behind. Victor already maybe trying to gain the confidence of the driver ahead, just being there, being right on the rear spoiler, but not making any moves. I'm pretty sure he's preparing something interesting for a little bit later, as Edvinas Žadeikis gets already kind of comfortable with the car, being all over his back for the 20 minutes, and sometimes maybe not paying attention. He's just focusing on his own race. Yep, and another confirmation. So Victor, drive-through penalty from race direction. And the driver should have noted the penalty right now. So that means this battle for P2 in the GT4 class is gonna see the finish right now, because Victor needs to do and to serve that drive-through penalty. This is a big shame, but well, rules are rules, and Victor, he has, well, so the information that I see, he has brake checked another driver during the qualifying session, which is not allowed move. Therefore, he has been punished and needs to serve that penalty as soon as possible. Otherwise, we will see some disqualifications already. One driver disqualified from this race. That was Novoa, who has not taken the drive-through penalty, which was received in qualifying session. And history might repeat itself with Victor. I think the driver has 3 laps from the moment they see the notification to take that drive-through penalty, and this is the moment for Victor to either try to overtake Edvinas Žadeikis and win a little bit of time on the track against his rival, though I'm not sure if that's gonna work out. It's still a drive-through, it's not a stop-and-go penalty, so with a drive-through you kind of can have some hope for a still good result. The drivers have the pace. They are currently second and third, at least 5.5 seconds ahead of the closest driver. The drive-through penalty definitely will cause a lot of harm for Victor, but let's say it's still not the end of a good race result for Victor. He qualified third. Yep, and he's currently still third on the racetrack. But we try to stay with these drivers. That's gonna be the second time after the notification, as Victor is not going into the pit lane. No, actually, he is diving into the pit lane for the drive-through. And there goes the relief for Edvin Ožadeikis. He will have the chance to concentrate fully on his own race. He's already 14 seconds behind Jan Nimts, losing almost 1 second per lap. Well, actually, he is losing 1 second per lap to the current leader, and we already know Jan Nimts as one of the most dominant drivers on the WorldSimSeries platform, and the domination has gone nowhere in this race. Jan Nimts still being one of the fastest drivers in the classes that he is joining. As we go over to another battle, this is Matas Mendelis. He's currently third, 1.5 seconds behind Tomola, 1.5 seconds ahead of Kareckas. This is a nice spot on the track where we see drivers doing some racing action. Let's ride on board with Grantas Kareckas. He's currently fourth, but this is a very close racing situation, very similar to the real Porsche Cup races, sprint races that anyone can watch during the season time. Pretty sure there is some management of tires by most of the drivers. Looking at the pace, it looks like most of the leaders should be on a very similar strategy. So it's all in the hands by the drivers themselves. There was a wall. Grantas Kareckas going wide as Matas Mendelis dives into the pit lane a little bit earlier than the mid time of the race. He has decided to head into the pit lane and do that pit stop already. He'll have a slightly longer stint after he will return to the racetrack as he had from the race start. But he was definitely preparing for this race, and he was trying to figure out for the best strategies possible. And I'm pretty sure Matas Mendelis has came up with something. As usual, Matas Mendelis does his calculations quite precisely, and he will try to conquer his rivals, well, at least with a slightly better strategy, as we are involved in a lap traffic situation, not only between the GT4 class, but also between the 992 Cup class. This is Kletzer, as he is dealing with the GT4 class drivers. Going slightly sideways, Kletzer did not have a very good start for this race. He made his pit stop quite early, and he received a drive-through penalty later on. That's why he's already 1 lap off. His last lap time was 1 minute 45.9, so not the fastest lap time in a GT3 Cup car. As Matas Mendelis came back from the pit lane onto the racetrack in 10th position. So this is still quite a very tightly packed race, even though the top 5 GT3 Cup car drivers are looking pretty safe. It's still a unknown territory for most of the drivers, as Matas Mendelis tries to chase down Major Hofer, and I'm not sure if that's gonna help him with that early stop strategy. Let's ride on board with Matas Mendelis as he's chasing down Major Hofer. Car 26. Nordoker Racing Team, so a lot of teams have joined this race so far. A lot of Dream to Drive drivers. So Major Hofer going sideways through turn 1, and that's not gonna help with the lap times for Matas Mendelis, who is thinking about at least a 1 position higher finish. He was running 3rd before he made that pit stop. Now is the moment when he has to deal with the slower drivers. A little bit of understeer from Matas Mendelis, but it looks like he managed to cope with the pressure, and I think the move is done now. He's up to P8 as Makaya has entered the pit lane recently, so a couple of spots in one lap for Matas Mendelis. He's currently 14 seconds behind Penaroya and 46 seconds behind Tauras Tunila. That's where the strategy splitting up is being done. Tauras Tunila staying on the racetrack, so is Grantas Kareckas, and Tomala 8 seconds behind Tauras Tunila already. Wow, where did that gap come from? Tomala 1 minute 44.0, Tauras Tunila 1:42.6. Looking good for the fastest driver of all the previous sessions so far. Tauras Tunila is looking strong to take that checkered flag this evening. As Tomala has to deal with the traffic. Let's ride on board with Grantas Kareckas. And one GT4 car has went off the racetrack to let the faster cars through. You don't need to go on the grass to let the faster drivers go. But it's, I think, still quite a pleasant view for drivers who are thinking for a good results in this race. So Kareckas chasing down Tomala, still 2 seconds behind Tomala, and there was one car in between, so I think Tomala has had some issues with the traffic, because that allowed Kareckas to gain a little bit closer to the Muffler Shop Racing Team driver, because it was more like 4 seconds between the drivers as Tomala heads straight into the pit lane behind a GT4 car. Are they racing on the slow pit entry line? Not sure, we couldn't see exactly what was happening, and a lot of drivers diving into the pit lane a little bit further into the race than the middle of it. So Tomala, Staten, Vega are all drivers who entered the pit lane. Tunila, Kareckas and Mendelis, of course, are staying on the racetrack. Well, Mendelis has already completed his pit stop, and this is the moment of truth. Matas Mendelis definitely with new and already hot tires on the track. He was third, and he should come out pretty close with Tomala. Let's ride on board with Matas Mendelis as he managed to overtake Tomala. Yep, riding on board with Tomala. So currently it looks like it was a very nice strategy call from Matas Mendelis. Of course, I think Tomala had issues with the traffic and lost a little bit of time on the track due to the reason he's now 2.2 seconds behind Matas Mendelis. Needs to bring up the temperature into the tires, so he should lose a little bit of on-track time. But now this is another mission for the driver of Muffler Shop Racing. He is virtually now third on the racetrack as Grantas Kareckas stays for at least another lap. And remember, we have another option for the strategy in this race. You never know what could happen for the drivers who are staying on the track. Tomala being led by the slower GT4 cars, the slower class on the racetrack. Jan Nimts has just completed his pit stop. Edvin Žadeikis stayed on the track. As I try to kind of gather the information about the completed pit stops by the drivers, our timing table does not offer us the opportunity. At least I'm not picking one. But I'm pretty sure Jan Nimts has completed that pit stop, because Edvin Žadeikis is currently enjoying the lead of the GT4 class, 7 seconds ahead of Franke. And look, Victor is currently third with the drive-through penalty, so it didn't hurt too much. He's currently 6 seconds behind Franke and constantly faster, at least by 8/10 on the previous lap time, so he's still gonna be aiming for a top 3 finishing place as Tauras Tonila building out that gap lap after lap after lap, and phenomenal pace by the team leader of the Dream to Drive car. He's already 12.2 seconds behind Grantas Kreckas, and he will definitely come out on the track in front of Matas Mendelis, who virtually gained second spot after that earlier stop than his closest rival Tomala. Though the gap stays around 2 seconds, promising us a very nice battle towards the end of this lone special event on the WorldSimSeries. This is the Porsche heat, and I'm pretty sure there is a reason behind the choice of the racetrack. During winter, this is one of the favorite tracks for the teams to test their vehicles or the drivers, or wherever test sessions they need to do. It's a very popular track with good weather offerings, and recently the Dream to Drive team has been on the real tarmac of this circuit, as I watch at the very interesting and wide lines of Tomala that just tell you how much he's trying to push. As Matas Mendelis deals with the traffic, Tomala will be greeted by the GT4 cars also. But it looks like Tomala is putting some nice pressure on the shoulders of Matas Mendelis. And remember, Matas Mendelis made that pit stop slightly earlier, so his tires have a little bit more age on them, meaning Matas Mendelis needs to be a little bit more careful through those corners just to leave enough of juice in the rubber for the final moments. Still 23 minutes on the clock, plenty of time for Tomala to do the job that he's currently doing. 1.6, so just a tiny bit faster lap after lap, just trying to keep up that pressure on the shoulders of Matas Mendelis, going a little bit wide on that modified corner of the Barcelona-Catalunya racetrack. That's La Caixa, I'm not sure how to pronounce that corner, but it was turn number 10 out of 14 corners where Tomala made a small mistake. Well, it was not a mistake, he was just going very deep into that corner. It looks like he didn't lose a lot of time, maybe scrubbed a little bit too much out of those front tires. Still being able to put that pressure on the shoulders of Matas Mendelis. Tauras Tonila with some scarves on the left side of his car from the turn 1 battle with Tomala. It was pretty intense and the drivers were close to each other, but it looks like a lot of damage has been not given to the car, as you can see Tauras Tonila putting those fastest lap times with no issues whatsoever. Car number 23 has 5 seconds penalty, that's Makaya. The 5 seconds penalty will be added after the race. And car number 22, that's Frutos, with a 10 seconds penalty added to the total time of the driver. As Tauras Tonila and Grantas Kreckas looks like they have shared the same strategy, staying on the racetrack lap after lap after lap with 22 minutes on the clock. They are yet to make a pit stop, and we need to figure out what's happening in the GT4 class, as Jan Nims has already completed that stop, but Franke, Edwin Radeikis and Victor are yet to make that stop. Jan Nims is currently 14 seconds behind Radeikis, and he is gaining on Victor, the driver who has received that drive-through penalty. And Victor did not make a pit stop yet. You can clearly see the pace difference between the GT4s and the GT3 Cup cars. A Porsche event on the WorldSimSeries platform, making it a multi-class race, 1 hour long race with fixed setups, currently providing us with very, very nice on-track battles, especially in the 992 class, as Tauras Unilas still staying on the racetrack. Grantas Kareckas already 16.5 seconds behind, and also staying on the track. Matas Mendelis in the very hot battle with Tomala. Staten and O'Brien already a little bit further behind Mendelis and Tomala. Both Staten and O'Brien have completed their pit stops, so they are off to greet the checkered flag, currently P5 and P6, Vega 7th in the 992 class. But there are some unanswered questions in the GT4 class and some unanswered questions in the Cup class. Kareckas was running 4th before the pit stop took place. First of the drivers to stop was Matas Mendelis, as Tomala sets the fastest lap time of the race so far. Oh, just think about the pressure on the shoulders of Matas Mendelis, and he was only 2.5 tenths slower on the lap, so you can imagine what goes through the mind of Matas Mendelis, who is trying to think about his tires that are slightly older than the tires on the Tomala car. He tries to be as fast as he can on the very same time while thinking about the tires and also feeling the pressure from behind. Still coping with that pressure brilliantly, and in the course of 5 or 6 laps, he lost only roughly 6 tenths in total. So he's doing a nice job, but he needs to keep up with that. Still plenty of time on the clock. No more pit stops here. No more any relaxing minds. Just hoping for no mistakes. Fully concentrated on the road. And I'm pretty sure Tomala feels a little bit more excited right now. He's doing a good job. He feels that edge against the driver in front. He lost the position during the pit stops. Somehow Matas Mendelis made it a little bit more faster. Not sure if the earlier stop has helped Matas Mendelis with the pace or the gain of that position. Still, he ended up in front of Tomala, and virtually these drivers are currently battling for P2, but you never know what strategy has Grantas Kareckas on the table. He's quite slow now on the racetrack, 1 minute 44.0, but if he's gonna have that splash and dash strategy, don't see any chance for the drivers behind. Look at the track limits. Tomala using whole width of the racetrack available. That's how hard he's pushing. Well, there are no track limits coming from the track itself. Not sure how the race stewards will gonna look at well, this interpretation of track limits. One could only think that if you are not being punished by the system itself, you are allowed to use those track limits. I mean, Assetto Corsa has its own track limit system. Oh, and going a little bit too hot into TV3 corner, losing the back end, scrubbing off those front tires. That did not help Tomala catching up with Mendelis. Mendelis sees that in his rear view mirrors, and that can help release the pressure slightly from the shoulders, though the gap is still disappearing, as Edwin Radekis still staying on the track, being constantly slower than Jan Nimt behind. And only 9 seconds separate the two cars currently in the battle for the lead of the GT4 class, but with one of them have having a mandatory pit stop in on the table, and the other is yet to go into the pit lane. Gragi is up to P3, and I'm pretty sure he's also yet to make that stop. Franke and Victor, this is your battle for the virtual third spot on the grid. Victor was battling with Edvin Žadeikis before he received that drive-through penalty, as Franke is... Franke is on the racetrack. This is Victor. Okay, I was slightly confused. Victor having a battle with... well, he had a battle with Rahmanian. He's already in front. There is a Dream to Drive 992 car. I think that's Matas Mendelis. Tauras Tonila in the pit lane. Grantas Kareckas staying on the racetrack, so he will take over the lead for at least one lap. Matas Mendelis and Tomala, oh, they are very close on the racetrack. I think Matas Mendelis had to make a mistake somewhere on the racetrack, maybe with the traffic. You can see there's a lot of traffic, not only GT4s, but also the 992 GT3 Cup cars. And there's the chance for Tomala as we ride on board on him with him. And we can have a look from the outside cameras. There is a GT3 Cup car which did not help Matas Mendelis as he lined side by side, but I think he lost there already. Oh, how unfortunate for Matas Mendelis in that battle as we ride on board with him. Surrounded by GT4s and GT3 Cup cars, but I think there goes the second position from Matas Mendelis. He lost it out on track. And I'm not sure what else he can think of. He was constantly slightly slower than Tomala. And he will have to figure out something on the track as he sees Tomala sliding and drifting around the Repsol corner, which might give Matas Mendelis some hopes at least to try and regain that spot as Grantas Kareckas stays on the racetrack. Tonila came back on the track 27 seconds ahead of Tomala and Mendelis. He's actually right up behind Kareckas, who has just entered the pit lane. So Tonila was much closer to Kareckas than I would have thought of. So both of the drivers will have very short pit stops, and I think there is the chance for Grantas Kareckas to finish this race in P2 as Tomala running side by side with Matas Mendelis. As I was looking at the two Dream to Drive guys, we still have a battle live on the racetrack. Tomala sliding around and abusing those tires a little bit more. This is the best chance for Matas Mendelis to try and finish this race. I'm currently not sure in which position, but look, Grantas Kareckas is back on the racetrack. He's 8 seconds behind, ahead of Tomala and Mendelis, who continue to battle. Matas Mendelis went very, very deep into turn 1, as our camera guy has lost out in that battle. Oh, this was a very nice battle, and both of the cars actually now behind Grantas Kareckas, but I'm pretty sure Grantas Kareckas stayed on those old tires and did have a splash and dash pit stop with 17 minutes on the clock. There's still plenty of to offer on the table for both of these cars battling each other. That's Matas Mendelis and Tomala fighting for which is now P3 at this moment, but I'm pretty sure Grantas Kareckas' position is not so safe as one could think of, as Matas needs to share the track with the GT4 class, and I think he lost a little bit out to Tomala in that situation, so a little bit unlucky there for Matas Mendelis, as Edvin Žadeikis still staying on the track, not taking that mandatory pit stop. I think he has chosen to drive till the very end and have that splash and dash pit stop situation. We have 32 degrees on the asphalt. We have 100% of grip, so ideal conditions for the drivers to put that metal to put that pedal to the metal. And that's what we have been presented here this evening. Radeikis 36 seconds ahead of Franke and ahead of Victor, as we can read the battle for the virtual third spot in the GT3 class so far, because there is no chance for Edvin Radeikis to hold on to that lead, but most likely he will get back onto the racetrack in P2, leaving these two battle it out for P3, as Rahmanian is also not so far behind. We don't have him in the rear view mirror of Victor. There you go, you can see Franke in the background, so he's also there. And as we've seen from the battles with Edvin Radeikis, Victor is kind of calm on the racetrack. I don't see any risky or aggressive moves from the number 11 GT4 car driver, but I'm pretty cheering for at least some racing action. He has nothing to lose but something to win. If he stays behind Franke for a little bit too long, there's a chance that Rahmanian will gain on both of these drivers and create a three-car battle for P3. Edvin Radeikis still stays on the track, doesn't go into the pit lane. And looking at the Cup class, Tunila is still in the lead. Tomala and Mendelis are still on the same positions. We don't see Grantas Karetskas on our timing screens because there's simply not enough room, but he's there, so Karetskas is still running second as Victor has a run on Franke. Into turn one, we switch cameras and it looks like still side by side, but Franke backs out of it and lets Victor through. I think Franke is more concerned about fourth place in this race rather than to be in a battle with a slightly faster driver. As we join the onboard camera of Rahmanian, he managed to gain a little bit on the drivers in front. As we still have to deal with the traffic. One of the Dream to Drive cars are here in the traffic trying to figure out which cars are that, and that's actually Karetskas, Tomala and Mendelis. So Tomala is right on the tail of Karetskas. Mendelis has lost a little bit to Tomala, well, 2 seconds behind this battle, and Tomala is right all over the tail of Karetskas. And this is the different strategy that the drivers have chosen to go in this race. So Karetskas enjoyed the P2 for a little bit, but it looks like the tire conditions will not allow Garantas Karetskas enjoy that even further, though he's currently doing a very decent job helping his teammates to gain on both of the drivers as they go door by door through the final corners. Oh, Grantas Karetskas sending it sideways. Tomala also having a snap, and Matas Mendelis will definitely not be happy about being a little bit too far behind his rivals, as Grantas Karetskas still stays all over the back of his rival as we lose cameras. Karetskas managed to go ahead back of Tomala, and more scrubbing, bumping and rubbing happening on the racetrack. Tomala being sent off the racetrack to the off track for a very short time. There's gonna be a lot of work for race control, I'm pretty sure, after that. Nice battles and harsh battles on the racetrack as Matas Mendelis got his chance to get back into the battle for P2. Todos Donila 33 seconds ahead of this battle and not looking back as his teammates try to deal with Tomala, the muffler shop racing driver. Look at Grantas Karetskas, he doesn't have the tire there, he goes off the track, and I think that's it for Grantas Karetskas, though he did have a very nice battle with his rivals. He's though only 3.5 seconds ahead of Staten, so he needs to think about the remaining 6 minutes of this race. as Tomala enjoys half of a second lead against Matas Mendelis. Edvinas Žadeikis, by the way, has already completed his pit stop and is back on the track in P2, 14 seconds ahead of Victor. So with 6 minutes on the clock, I think he is pretty safe to see the checkered flag in P2, as we have that battle for P2 in the 992 class with a lapped GT4 class. More rubbing doors with Tomala as Matas Mendelis dives into the inside of the track as we join the onboard of Tomala, and the battle is not gonna go nowhere. Oh, tried to go around the outside of the third corner, which I don't see happening, but Tomala is still being all over the back of Matas Mendelis with only a couple of laps on the clock. This is gonna be a battle till the end. Kareckas needs to sit tight, though he's being chased down by Statin, and Kareckas has no tires. I'm pretty sure about that. His 992 is just losing quite a lot of pace, as there should be not huge problems for Statin to deal with the third Dream to Drive car in the 992 class, as we stay with Tomala in this very nice battle for P2. Matas Mendelis doing a brilliant job as Tomala abuses the tires even more, flashes his headlights. I'm not sure if he's happy about the moves of the Dream to Drive team drivers. I'm pretty sure he's not happy about Grantas Kareckas, who was being a very, very strong battle contender in those previous corners a couple of laps ago. With older tires, Grantas Kareckas managed to do a lot of work, to create a lot of work for Tomala. And that might have abused the tires on this 992 Porsche number 16. And look at the distance. Matas Mendelis managed to pull off a 4/10 lead in the course of one lap, as both of the drivers need to deal with traffic. This is gonna be the chance for Tomala. Look at the different entry that both of the drivers could create into turn 1 through turn 2. I think Matas Mendelis still holds on quite nicely, even though he had a very tight entry into turn 1. He still managed to nail those second and third corners. Whoa, late on the brakes goes Tomala. I'm not sure if that was a mistake by Tomala or a mistake by Mendelis, but look at the difference on the entry and then on the exit. Oh, so late on the brakes for Tomala. He still tries to kind of stick behind Matas Mendelis as the time is running out for all of the drivers on the racetrack. Tomala is not losing that idea that he needs to finish off this race in P2, as Statin has already completed the move against Kareckas, and Kareckas, well, he has 4 seconds buffer between himself and O'Brien, but Kareckas is way slower. And Tonila's pace is really strong even on these final moments, so I'd say Kareckas stayed on old tires, but Tonila switched to new tires and still enjoying a very huge lead against his nearest rivals. You can actually see the gap on the map. Car number 1, or P1, is way into the distance on the racetrack, as Matas Mendelis and Tomala cross the start and finish line only now. Oh, as O'Brien goes off the racetrack, as the cameraman tries to find better angles, we have seen Tomala going off the racetrack. A couple of warnings have been issued to some of the drivers, and a 5-second penalty for car number 6. That's Franke. Car number 6 is Franke, currently running 4th. Actually, now runs 5th in the GT4 class, has a 5-second penalty, which will be handed out after the race. Dainus Butvila has received a warning, so has Frutos. But all in all, it looks quite calm in the race control department, as Matas Mendelis does the very same job that he has done recently, being only a couple of tenths in front of Tomala as we start the final minutes of this race. This is Grantas Kareckas against Lee O'Brien. I think that's another position lost for Grantas Kareckas as we join Tauras Tunila, who has, I believe, just started the final lap of this race. Yep, indeed, that should be the final lap of this race, as Tauras Tunila has crossed the line with not enough time remaining on the clock. So let's get back to the battle between Matas Mendelis and Tomala, but it looks like the second 1 second gap is really gonna help Matas Mendelis to stay in P2 for the remaining meters of this race. As you can see on the far top left side of your screen, it's only 15 seconds on the clock. Still green flag on the racetrack. But it looks like Matas Mendelis is gonna be holding his hands way up in the air. He couldn't compete with his teammate this afternoon. Tauras Tunila showing dominant performance from the earliest session in this special event. He dominated the pre-qualifying session. He dominated the qualifying session. He led the race from the start and never let it go, except the time he made that pit stop. And around the final corner, that should be the final corner, and there goes the flashing of the headlights. Tauras Tunila taking the checkered flag and winning this one. Matas Mendelis still holding off the attacks of Tomala. Look at the tight battle between these two drivers. Tomala getting a little bit closer. That's not close enough. I'm pretty sure Matas Mendelis will have the chance to hold off the attacks of his nearest rival, as we see Makaja, Majorhofer, Cook and Gavars already crossing the finish line to take the checkered flag. More drivers crossing the finish line, but there goes P2 for Matas Mendelis as he gains that spot and overtakes Tomala in a very, very nice battle. O'Brien should finish fourth. Or even fifth. I have already lost the places. Jan Nimts taking the checkered flag in GT4. Edwin Žadeikis sliding around the final corner in drift style, joining the championship and, well, a one-off special event on the WorldSimSeries platform, taking P2, which is a very nice result, but not a very nice finish, as Edwin Žadeikis hits the wall after crossing that line. And as our timing table has seen very interesting result shufflings, I think we can safely switch to the overall results table of this race, as some of our drivers are stopping on the side of the track to finish off this special event. Let's go through the final results. So Tauras Tunila taking the win, the overall win, and the Porsche Cup win. Matas Mendelis finishing second, Tomala third, Statin fourth, O'Brien fifth, Kareckas coming home only P6 after that different strategy from the 992 field. Vega 7th, Peleroya 8th, Makaja 9th, Majorhofer 10th, Frutos 11th, and Kletzer 12th. This is your P Cup field. Jan Nimts taking P1 in the GT4 class. Edwin Žadeikis finishing second, Victor third, Rahmanian fourth, Franke 5th, Grajis 6th, Abdelhari 7th, Butvila 8th, Cook 9th, Gavars 10th, Oscar 11th, Lapul 12th, Cortez 13th, and Novoa 14th. So congratulations for all the drivers participating in this one-off special event on the WorldSimSeries platform. That was your Porsche Heat race. If you want to participate in races like these, wait no more, head over to the WorldSimSeries platform. Plenty of action happening there using the original Assetto Corsa title, also the Assetto Corsa Competizione, and the next special event is right on the calendar. That's gonna be the tribute to Senna. Imola 12 hours event on 22nd of March using a Assetto Corsa Competizione platform, and I cannot advise you more to head over to the platform, pick your spot, and participate in races like these. This has already seen the checkered flag, so hope you enjoyed the racing action. Congratulations to all the winners, and see you next time.